Hello, it's Thursday, and that means happy personal tech on YouTube. Sarah and I have been swamped with work, and we've been swamped at home. It's time for the National Cybersecurity Summit in DC. Apple has new services and products to announce, and I've been swamped with clients coming out of the woodwork with great tech questions. But it's not just business here. I also love to serve, and I occasionally volunteer with a veterans organization called Team Rubicon. It helps people during the worst times of disaster. Team Rubicon sends in veterans for quick and immediate response before organizations like the Red Cross and FEMA can arrive. It's a great chance for people who are experiencing the worst things in their lives to get immediate assistance, and it helps with veterans who can execute with a purpose. They can use their skills and training from their time in the military. It's a win-win. Also, Jake Wood is a University of Wisconsin alum. I'm also in the Navy Reserve, and I get to serve there much more frequently. So it's been a busy end of the summer and beginning of the fall. Okay, topic one of this week's quick blast topics, the National Cybersecurity Summit up in DC. It's virtual this year, not surprising. And I attended this last year. I'm also attending virtually this year. It's a great chance to share how they predict and protect. They share best practices and lessons learned. It's something that I pay attention to so that you don't have to. I'm not going to say it's exciting for the normal person, but it's like nerd heaven. And if you have cybersecurity questions, please reach out to me. You can reach me at max@happypersonaltech.com or put your comments down below where it says comments. You can put questions down there even though it says comments, and I'll do my best to answer those every week. Topic two for us today is do not buy an iPhone. Because Apple's probably going to announce new ones, which means you can get new iPhones shortly or save a bunch of money on the current iPhone 11 and 11 Pro. So they have a good, predictable release cycle. And normally it's September. I think this year the consensus is October. COVID and production delays, it's all very understandable. So I think we're expecting phones next month instead of this month. And for these new iPhones, you can expect 4 iPhones, 3 different sizes. I call them large, super large, and very super large. They're going to be bigger than what you're used to. And then 3 main things to think about. Probably improved battery, better camera, and then a 5G chip, which means faster connections if you are in a city and better connection distance if you are not in a city. This will also mean price drops, and I think we'll see the return of incentives to switch providers and maybe even great deals on carrier subsidies. So for example, we have T-Mobile. It's a little spotty service in some places. We may switch to Verizon. I'm going to wait to see what specials come out in October and especially November around Thanksgiving for incentives to switch. But yesterday's Apple announcement covered new services, new iPads, and new Apple Watches, the Apple Watch Series 6. Before I dive into the Apple stuff, just a side note, Apple's been working on developing their own chips for computers. I'm talking desktop computers, their iMac, and there are notebook computers like MacBook Air, MacBook Pro. So what does this mean for you? If Apple stops using Intel chips, it's probably for a good reason, and that means probably more battery life. And I want to take a minute here to talk about buying advice. A lot of my business is buying advice. So my customers will ask me, Max, what should I look for? What's the best computer for me? And my first question is, how do you use your computer at home? So if you're like me, I say correspondence. What I mean is I'm doing emails, social media, browsing the web, things like that. That's not processor intensive. You could probably benefit from buying a computer with a better battery life. You don't need the fastest processor. But more on that in about 30 seconds. Also, coming up one of these Thursday videos, I'll make all about buying advice. So take a minute to like and subscribe, and you may get an alert when I make a new video on one of those topics, buying advice, new notebook computers, etc. Okay, on to Apple's announcement yesterday. The first of the 3 big parts of the announcement yesterday was iPads, new iPads. So faster chips, more capable iPads, and I love these things, and I'll tell you why. Not only are they handy to use, to read, they're portable, but they can probably be a notebook computer replacement for a lot of us. And I just talked about correspondence and web browsing. You might be the perfect candidate to use an iPad instead of a notebook computer. Now, I've already talked about how these are handy and easy to use. And even better, they are less susceptible to things like viruses, malware, and they don't really get broken hard drives which happens to notebook computers all the time. And speaking of iPads, I've got a viewer question from last week about, his name is Keith. It says, I'm not very tech savvy, but I do want some advice about iPads. Well, this just by chance is the perfect time. So Keith, you don't have to be very tech savvy. That's one of the reasons I started my YouTube channel, is I try and pay attention to tech trends. And I've been doing computer help for a long time now. I'll pay attention so that you don't need to. The first thing I do when I sit down with a customer who wants buying advice, it looks like Keith is considering the new iPad, the bigger one or the medium-sized one. I start by asking, how do you use your computer? What do you do? And unless you're editing videos or deep into photo editing, an iPad will probably work for you. Their processors are speedy and all the other benefits of being portable, the touchscreen, they're lightweight, and they can do tons of other things. So in this case, Keith, I think one of the big iPads, the 12.9, the 13-inch iPad, might work out best for you. And since I'm giving out buying advice, here's some right now. I'm not a big fan of the Apple Pencil. It's expensive and it's not for me personally. It may fit what you do really well. The other buying advice, so I usually skip the Pencil. I've never bought the Apple Pencil. I also skip the Apple keyboards. They're expensive. I think they're about $200, the Magic Keyboard or something like that. Instead, I recommend a Logitech keyboard and cover combo. It's about $50 less expensive, works very well, so it's a great way to save some of that money. Okay, the second topic from Apple's announcement yesterday was services. And before I talk more about services, I want to talk about family sharing. Now, Apple does this for you. Apple allows family sharing, and Google also has something that does the same thing, family sharing, Google Share Family, something like that. It's something you should be doing if you have family members who also have the same kind of devices. So I'm talking, if you have iPhones in your family or Android phones, make sure you're taking advantage of this. It's a free service, and it lets your family members share in the things that you've already purchased. For example, I pay extra, it's only $3, for 200 gigabytes of storage every month from Apple. And people in my Apple family, I'm talking my wife, and we have both my parents, there's 4 of us, can all share. I only pay the $3, but they get the benefits. They can also share that storage. And it works for apps too. If I spend money on an app, like $3 for whatever kind of app, or $10, my family members can download and use that app for free. So I pay for it and they can all benefit from it. Now, if you haven't yet set up one of these services, there are 1 or 2 pitfalls. I can help you learn from the mistakes I've made. So reach out to me, Max at Happy Personal Tech, or just put your questions or comments in the comment field below, and I'll step you through the process of becoming the family leader or setting up your family with Apple or Google. Okay, on to the services Apple just announced. There are 3 tiers: individual, family, and premier. And I'll step through each one of the benefits. But Apple services, the one you may be familiar with already, Apple Cloud, the Apple Cloud. And I get a lot of questions. What is the cloud? Where is the cloud? Again, one of these Thursdays, the topic will be, what's the cloud? But just in one sentence right now, the cloud, you can think of this as somebody else's computer connected to the internet. So you don't need a big computer here. You're using someone else's computer. So I pay for Apple Cloud storage. And I just explained how our family all benefits from that. It's storage. Think pictures. Pictures take up a lot of room on your phone or your computer. And if you can offload those to the cloud, that's storage that you don't need. And Apple has a clever way. They will just, or the devices, your iPhone, your iPad, will pull a picture down from the cloud when you want to look at it, edit it, share it. It's really clever. If you're not using the cloud, my advice is use the cloud. It's helpful. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Before we talk about the cloud, let's go back to Apple services. Apple Music is the first one. Now, we've used a lot of streaming services. We've tried Spotify, Pandora, Google's Music, YouTube Music. We will probably try Apple Music because it's rolled into this big plan called Apple One, launching in the fall. It's this fall of 2020. So that's going to be helpful. Instead of us spending $10 a month with Spotify or $10 a month with Pandora, I think we'll try the Apple service, and I'll tell you why at the end after all these services. The second one is Apple TV Plus. And again, we've tried a lot of streaming services. We happen to already have Apple TV Plus. It came bundled when I bought my iPhone last year. We have a free trial. I don't know if it's 6 months or 12 months, but we already use it. It doesn't have a lot of content, but the content that it does have, we like. And we've already been accustomed to paying for streaming TV. We don't get our cable TV from a cable provider anymore. We've tried Hulu, Sling, YouTube TV. There are a lot of great sources out there. And again, one of my topics is how to cut the cord, saving money by canceling your cable TV. I highly recommend it. It's a great way to go. So Apple TV, though, is one of these in the Apple bundle, Apple One, coming in the fall. We already use it. We're going to continue using it. We love it. Arcade. I'm not a big gamer. Our kids are young, not in gaming age yet, so I can't really talk about Apple Arcade. If you like to game, it's probably cool. I don't know. That's great. I don't know. And then Apple Cloud Storage. Again, share this among your family. You need to be using the cloud. It's almost like a backup. It's very handy, whether you use it to synchronize or store photos. If you drop your phone in the ocean, your files aren't gone. If you find a replacement phone, when you find a replacement phone, the files will download from the cloud, and it's like nothing bad ever happened. It's fantastic. When I'm editing documents on my iPad, if I'm working from the road or in my car and I get home, I can sit down at my desk here with my computer and resume right where I left off. The cloud enables a really smooth handoff like that. And now the last two, if you want to subscribe to Apple's Premier Bundle, the next thing is News Plus. Again, I'm already a subscriber to this. This lets you read maybe hundreds of magazines. We were a subscriber to this service before Apple bought it. I forget what it's called. Maybe Texture sounds familiar. But I love reading magazines on my iPad. And if you subscribe to Apple News or News Plus, it also comes with a Wall Street Journal subscription. And instead of lugging around magazines and paying for all those subscriptions individually, we get great magazines, more than we could ever use or read, and the Wall Street Journal is a great bonus. So Apple News Plus comes in there. And then the last thing in the Premier plan is Apple Fitness Plus. Now, it may not look like it, but somewhere in here is a beach body. I must be on the 5-year beach body plan. It's going to take me forever to get a beach body, but Sarah and I both subscribe. Sarah subscribes and I get to use it as well. Beach body on demand. It's $10 a month. Fitness, we do like fitness exercise in our living room or garage when we can. We're pretty busy with 2 young kids and we both work from home, but we work out when we can. Now, this is a chance to unsubscribe from Beachbody on demand. And when I add up all the subscriptions that we're not going to pay for by subscribing to Apple's Premier plan, I think we'll save $20, $25 a month. So spending $30 with Apple versus $55 with everybody else means I'm going to try it. I think this is going to be worth it for us. We'll try it for a couple months in the fall, and we'll let you know how it turns out. Now, I have an Apple Watch. I'm an Apple Watch fan, and I like it. It gives me little fitness nudges, whether the reminders to exercise, to stand up, to go for a walk, or the data I get when I run or ride my bike. That kind of stuff is very motivational for me. And speaking of motivation, watch their little two-minute promo video. It has me imagining I'll be hiking every day and summiting peaks. There's no way I'm going to do that stuff, but it's helpful. It gets me off the couch, out to go exercise, and that's great. I can't afford to upgrade my device every year. I'm on the every other year plan, so my Apple Watch is 2 or 3 generations old, but this new one I'm excited about. It has pulse ox and altimeter, so those are great health things. Of course, fall of 2020, pulse ox is handy. We're talking about COVID and coronavirus. That could be a handy medical diagnostic tool, I'm guessing, and that's how Apple portrays it. They kept saying, in just 15 seconds, you can see your pulse ox. Anyway, the altimeter is cool for hiking and being out and about in the mountains, if that applies to where you live. So I appreciate their emphasis on health for that. And then one more thing that's new about the Apple Watch Series 6, it's brighter, but the exciting thing is you no longer need an Apple iPhone to activate or use your iWatch, or your Apple Watch, excuse me. So if you have older family members who have no interest in a smartphone, they can still wear the Apple Watch and get the benefits of communicating. They can text and get alerts and communicate phone calls if you have the cell service. And of course, slip and fall alerts. So if someone falls or if it thinks you've fallen, it can help you or call a contact like that for you. It sounds pretty cool. The other benefit of that is if you have younger kids in your household, younger kids who aren't yet ready for an iPhone, they can still have the Apple Watch and get some of the benefits, again, communicating, the alerts. There's an educational mode called School Time. It turns on some kind of do not disturb so your kids can focus on their work. And then the watch face, so it shows a screen where maybe your educator or your teacher, if you're homeschooling, can glance down and see that the watch is in school mode. It limits their interruptions. When it's not in school time mode, though, they can text and receive, and as a family share plan, you can set up and restrict who they can communicate with. More importantly, who can communicate with them. So a note about this, you can buy iPads and Apple Watches with a cellular modem. They're more expensive, and then you still have to subscribe. It's like $10 a month for a subscription service. Then your Apple Watch can communicate directly with, for example, AT&T or Verizon or T-Mobile or whomever your provider is. $10 a month seems like a worthy investment for connectivity. If they're out and about, you can send them a text. They can make phone calls from their watch by talking into it. It sounds fantastic and high tech. Lastly, Apple has introduced Apple Watch SE. You may recall that they have an iPhone SE, and it's a slower chipped version. It's a less expensive processor, same with the watch, but you still get a lot of the great features. So with the iPhone SE and the Apple Watch SE, slower processor, you probably won't notice it, but a lot of the cooler features, budget-friendly price. So that's a quick summary of we're super busy. The National Cybersecurity Summit is going on right now. I'd like to use that opportunity the next couple of weeks to raise awareness of cybersecurity and how there are a few things you can implement at home just to reduce your risk. You want to mitigate those risks and become less of a target for cybersecurity. And those the three big takeaways from Apple's announcement yesterday. If you like the content, if you like what you're watching or hearing here, please take a minute to like and subscribe. That tells YouTube I'm making good content. And again, please put your comments down below in the comments field. There's also room for questions there. Put them in there. I'll use those as topics for upcoming videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next Thursday.